If you grow up looking at Schumacher really destroying everyone in Formula 1 like me, you're probably gonna enjoy this game that I'm gonna show you today, because our today guest is none other as Formula 1 2021, the Codemasters bringing their new title to this year's release. In general, Formula 1 2021 follows up in the racing line of Formula 1 2020 for the game's handling through the spawning set of the game modus you have available to you. There's a few new wrinkles here and there, but overall experience is consistent and steady evolution. However, much more like slightly envisioned rules changed from 2020 to 21 in real sport. There is also some real surprises here. The hand new of the line feature is Breaking Point Story Mode. Codemasters waving together of the narrative with higher production values on the track racing action. It initially follows F1 rookie Aiden Jackson starting off with his final championship winning race in Formula 2's 2019 season before progressing through his first 2 years at one of the mid-tier of backmaster teams of the sport in the current form. You can pick from Williams, AlphaTauri, Alfa Romeo and Aston Martin. There is immediately a lot of tension as he steps into the car and goes against the veteran teammate Casper Ackermann. And then there is swarmy poo staring of the returning fictional characters of Devon Butler, diving for another team. It actually comes together rather nicely as a story, and it's kind of the stuff the Netflix Drive to Survive producers would absolutely top up, as the rivalry between Jackson and Ackermann spills up over the race on the track action. You'll often to be dropped in a situation mid-race where its blown tire are coming from the back after a safety car and having to push to get into initiation points. Of course, it is also totally unrealistic. It's set in a parallel dimension where he is in a whole pandemic thing, so that first 2020 race is in Australia. You're often tasked with a race through the field, overthinking half of the dozen cars, just a few laps, and paying as the Williams. You're regularly fighting off a points and even odd podium. The story is same regardless of the team you pick, but it would have been a huge task to adopt and produce for all the more realistic premiums. Why it was look like it'd been breaking point, it is particularly good way to intuit yourself into a racing with F1 2021. The first race in F2 ironically means you're racing with the more difficult vehicles in the game. Without the sheer downforce and grip to any of F1 cars, you gotta have to compete each objective you've given up. If you don't know the racer codes that speaking secretage like the Zranvarud, Suzuka, Kota and the other will provide with the real kit challenge. At least you have the rewind button to hip up and to anyone to coming up for 21 F1 of the few years before, you will probably be able to hop right in. Alongside Breaking Point, you have the usual array of the game modes and options available to you. Pretty much everything from F1 2020 returns from the driver career and managerial My Team mode through the online multiplayer promised of esports integrations and the player-managed league for online racing. New for this year are two welcome tweaks to the familiar. You have the real season start for the driver career, letting you to choose particular points of reveal in 2021 calendar. To pick up from the race and to drive is the constructor standing intact, a fairly cosmetic change. But nice to have when the game is coming out after 2 of 33 planet race. Of course, Codemasters always seem to give with one hard take with the others. The garage of cars have been included and grown over the last few years and have been put back into storage. I'm sure they'll be able to buy back in a few years. There are also changes to the RD system in career mode. You can skip through the practice session and not miss RD points, instead spreading the time in the quick odd-based games to automate the process, but the RD3 the last 2 weeks here has been replaced with a setup that narrows your focus on a handful of options. It is simpler but takes away the bigger picture view that you had. F1 2021 follows up in the long line of the Formula 1 games with its handling. The cars are sharp, pointless in a handling and capable of doing pretty much what you want from them, and punishing you for mistakes. We reviewed this year while playing on PlayStation 5 with DualSense controller, and the new haptic and adaptive triggers doing well of adjusting the subtitle layer. Also on PC, it is super comfortable play with the keyboard. Also thanks for the Codemasters to reviewing copy for us. It's no surprise that F1 lacks a little of pieces in the breach of generational divide. The game looks good and runs perfectly well on PS5, same on PC and other consoles, but it does an amazing step forward if you're exporting them on. There's also a sense that Codemasters are a step behind in replication all the changes of 2021 race calendar. Obviously, it takes time to resources to the constant chopping and changing from the real-world sport, but there is remodeling of Barcelona's Turn 10 that has been replicated since February, and there is 3 tracks coming after release at Imola, Portimao and the new circuit at Jeddah. Oh, and there is no support for a sprint race weekend as is battle trialed in F1 this year, despite being featured available for F2 race at weekends. So if you sum this up all the review guys, there is few cons and few obviously pros. If we look, the good points are breaking point and a few dramatic moments and the track off and on. Co-op makes the game really super fun, build on the gameplay and features and the content of F1 22. Much of the game feels like F1 2022, this comes the first reason why it's not that good. A little lacking of the wow factor on the new consoles, 3 factors of coming post-launch, and goodbye classic calls. We're probably not gonna see you in years. Guys, that was the review for this game, F1 2021, this is our honest opinion. Subscribe to our channel, like the video, leave the comment, we really care for your support.